Okay, picture this. You've done your homework. The pre-flight brief looked great, maybe even VFR conditions expected. But you get airborne, climb into the system, and suddenly, the clouds are definitely lower than forecast, visibility's dropping fast. What now?
Yeah, that scenario, that's not just some edge case, that's really the heart of IFR flying, especially in general aviation. We think check the weather is a pre-seat thing, but honestly, that's just the beginning.
Right, it's not a tick box exercise.
Not at all. For anyone flying IFR, maybe you're a PPL holder looking at the ESO, Basic Instrument Rating, you have to grasp that conditions will change. It's baked into the cake. Your mindset needs to be, well, adaptive, analytical, sure, but also humble. This deep dive is about what really matters up there in, say, your Cessna when things don't go exactly to plan. Less about the exam answers, more about the cockpit reality.
Okay, so if it's this ongoing process, this constant adaptation,
Mm-hmm.
where do you start building that mindset? What's like the first step before you even taxi out?
It has to start with your personal minimals. Absolutely fundamental. Think of it as a core part of your risk management. And it is truly personal.
How so? Different from the legal limits, you mean?
Exactly. Legal limits tell you what you're allowed to do. Your personal limits. They define what's actually safe for you today in this aircraft, on this route. Sure, an examiner wants to see you've thought about them, maybe written them down, but in the cockpit, they're your real safety buffer.
And how do you set them?
Based on, well, brutally honest assessment. Your current experience, how much recent practice you've had, especially in actual IFR conditions, and your familiarity with the plane and the route.
Is there a common mistake here? Like, do people tend to set them too high, thinking they should be comfortable with lower conditions?
That's a really common trap, yeah. Aspirational minimums, I call them. You set them based on where you wish you were, or maybe where you were 6 months ago when you were flying IFR 3 times a week.
Yeah.
They need to reflect your reality now, and they should change, as you gain solid experience, you might lower them slightly. If you haven't flown much IFR recently, you should raise them. Be honest.
Okay, so foundation laid, know your honest limits. But even then, the weather can change unexpectedly mid-flight. Personal minimums help you decide whether to go, but what about decisions during the flight? You need a dynamic approach, right? I think this is where that GDRA mnemonic comes in handy.
Yes, DDRA is such a practical tool for making decisions in the moment when the weather picture is evolving. It's your in-flight playbook.
Okay, break it down for us. D.
D is for deviation. Simple idea, but powerful. Be ready, and more importantly, willing to change your route or altitude. And do it early.
Early being the key word.
Absolutely. Don't wait until you're already feeling uncomfortable or you're in conditions you don't like. Changing course proactively, asking ATC for a different altitude or heading, that's good piloting, that's staying ahead.
Makes sense. Okay, R.
R is for return. Knowing when it's time to just, well, call it a day for that route and head back. Or maybe divert to somewhere behind you where conditions are better. This one can be tough psychologically. You've planned, you're halfway there.
Yeah, the pressure to continue.
Exactly. But remember this, for the test and for the real world, sometimes the smartest, most courageous decision is turning around. It's not failure, it's good judgment.
Got it. A is next.
A for alternate. And I mean a real, reachable alternate, not just the one you scribbled on the flight plan form to be legal.
What makes it real?
It means you've looked at its current weather, its forecast, the approaches available, and it's genuinely within your fuel range now, considering the winds aloft now. It's a dynamic escape plan you need to keep reassessing. Is the alternate you filed still a good option? Maybe another one is better now?
Okay, a living plan, not a static one. And finally, W.
W is wait it out. Sometimes the best option is simply to slow down. Delay your departure if you can, ask for holding to give localized weather a chance to pass, or divert to a nearby suitable airport and wait on the ground. Holding isn't just something APC tells you to do, it's a tool you can use. Don't feel pressured by the clock or, get their itis. Patience is a huge part of safe IFR.
DRAW sounds like a really solid framework. DRAW, deviate, return, alternate, wait. But like you said with return, making those calls under pressure, it can be hard. What other common pitfalls do you see pilots falling into with IFR weather?
Oh, definitely. Beyond just misinterpreting a forecast, there are psychological traps. Cressonitis is the classic, that nagging feeling that you have to get there, pushing into worsening conditions, hoping it'll clear up just ahead. It rarely does.
I could see that happening.
Then there's over-reliance on automation. The autopilot is fantastic, GPS is amazing, but you can become disengaged. You stop hand-flying occasionally, you stop cross-checking as diligently, you miss subtle cues that the weather is changing and the aircraft isn't performing as expected. You need to stay in the loop.
Right, stay connected to the aircraft and the environment.
And the third big one is just poor in-flight reassessment.
Yeah.
Getting behind the aircraft mentally, you're so focused on flying the procedure or talking to ATC that you're not constantly updating your mental weather picture and reevaluating your DDRAW options. Good IFR pilots blend logic, the rules, the data with intuition built on experience and a strong dose of discipline to make timely decisions.
So it really comes down to flexibility, staying informed in real time, applying frameworks like DRA, and having those honest personal minimums as your baseline. That seems to be the core of confident, safe IFR in a GA plane.
That's it, exactly. You want to be controlling the flight, making proactive choices, not just reacting to whatever the weather throws at you. So, maybe a final thought for everyone listening, especially if you're working on that BIR or just flying IFR regularly. What's one personal minimum you could maybe establish or perhaps reevaluate today that would genuinely make your flying safer in the cockpit? Something to really think about.